So today we have a lot of Star Wars news, including a juicy update for The Mandalorian and Skeleton Crew, but we're gonna start with Star Wars Andor. Despite the writers' strike, they're going to resume production. They say earlier this week the Writers Guild of America voted to go on strike after negotiations with the Alliance of Motion Picture and Television Producers fell through. Because the WGA represents TV and film writers in Hollywood, most shows and films have halted production. Despite the strikes, there are some shows which are moving forward, and one of these is good news for Star Wars, Disney Plus's Andor Season 2. It was Variety who first broke this news, and they say that the show's second season is resuming production as the strike plays out. The amazing Tony Gilroy, the showrunner, managed to finish writing on the show before the strikes. He's not been on set whatsoever, but because along with Diego Luna he's an executive producer as well, he's contributing to the non-writing elements too. But it's also worth noting that this piece of news came shortly after The Hollywood Reporter acquired a memo from Disney that was sent out to showrunners from its various series. In it, the corporation told the showrunners they were not excused from performing their duties as showrunner and producer on the series as a result of the strike. Disney basically told them they need to carry on as normal, fulfilling their jobs and duties. That's not the only piece of Andor news we have though, as the showrunner also confirms the final 3 episodes of Andor Season 2 cover the 3 days before Rogue One, so he's really following to the T the story he set out to write. And we've spoken in the past about how Andor Season 2 is going to be very different to the first. It's going to skip a year every few episodes, so Season 2, as Gilroy says, has different stakes, different risks in terms of the writing, but keeping us on edge, on our toes, every step of the way. He's promising something that's really going to deliver. In his own words he says, "This is a new opportunity. We got it right the first time, and you don't want to let your foot off the gas." He understands that fans loved Season 1 for the most part, and he's investing that same energy, the same vibe, building upon it, and using it as the basis to connect it to Rogue One. I know this isn't Mando, but I've got to say, this is the way. And so now, my dear friends, on to The Mandalorian. A couple of weeks ago, I put out a video explaining all of the stuff that didn't make the Season 3 finale according to some rumours and new reports, and one of those was Pedro Pascal revealing his face at the end. Evidently that didn't come to fruition after schedule clashes. He was filming on The Last of Us at the time. But what if I told you there's evidence that there was more that was cut? Some more scenes not included that would have given some more emotional weight to the episode. This was posted to Giancarlo Esposito's Instagram page, Moff Gideon himself. This was taken from a deleted scene that would have shown Gideon catching Mando and Grogu. The glass all over the floor would suggest that Gideon came into the cloning room after it was destroyed. Maybe he was trailing Din and Grogu after all, and got there just too late. In either case, this scene should have remained in the episode to add emotional weight to the loss of his clones. Gideon watching his smothered clones was not part of the episode. That would have been amazing. Such a shame it was not left in, and it does seem from the choppy editing that some scenes were not put in, or instead were altered last minute, chopped up, etc. And this is backed by a couple of reports. Now I will say, I can't wait for the Disney Gallery of Season 3, the behind the scenes stuff. Maybe some truth will come out about this. And in case you missed it guys, and you're genuinely curious about what was possibly left out, then go and check out that video. I break down everything, from a possible appearance of Fennec Shand, a teaser of Boba Season 2, even Mon Mothma. It does sound as though the final episode of Season 3, Chapter 24, underwent a lot of alterations and changes before the final edition. And so staying on the subject of the Mandalorian universe, as we like to call it, an update for Skeleton Crew. This is from Empire Magazine. Star Wars Skeleton Crew has a young cast, but isn't a children's show. The kids think they're in Andor. And this reminds me of the fan reaction after the Skeleton Crew trailer shown at Celebration. Fans were blown away by the maturity of it, the similarities to Andor in some ways, and just how well put together it seems, just from that brief bit of footage. So let's dive into this. Right from the very start, something we've known about Skeleton Crew is that it centers on a young cast. Its codename title Grammar Rodeo was cribbed from The Simpsons, from an episode where Bart Simpson and his school friends rent a car with a fake ID and go on a road trip adventure, and that's the kind of realm John Watts and Chris Ford are playing in. The only difference, this is in a galaxy far, far away, where a group of galactic kids escape a school on a quiet planet and head off into the stars, where pirates, Jedi, and danger await. This Empire article confirms what we suspected, influences of Amblin, and they also confirm that Thane, one of Gorin Shard's pirates we saw in Mando Season 3, is one of the lead antagonists. On the subject of Jude Law's mysterious character, he is a Jedi, but the British actor tells Empire magazine his role is complicated. His part in shepherding these younglings is not so simple. He says, quote, "They need guidance, but they're vulnerable, and so throughout, the people they meet, you question all of them. Is my character nice? Is he not? You just want them to be alright and get back home. But if you know John and Chris's work, you know the kids are not always safe. Get ready to step into an all-new perspective in Star Wars." And Jude Law finishes by saying, "Seeing this galaxy, this world that we've all grown up loving, and the jeopardy, the divides, the heroes, the villains, but through eyes of children is brilliant. I really am so excited for this show. We're entering an era of very different kinds of Star Wars. Between Skeleton Crew, Andor Season 2, The Acolyte especially, some of these shows are going to be very standout. For better or worse, I'm here for it, keeping an open mind on everything." And so finally an update for The Acolyte. Leslye Headland, the showrunner, said the following: "It's interesting because the Jedi really think they're right, and George Lucas tells us they're wrong in The Phantom Menace. They missed a huge part of the dark side rising." And this goes hand in hand with what she said at Star Wars Celebration. She drew inspiration from Luke in The Last Jedi. Even though Leslye Headland's project takes place so much earlier in the timeline, Luke Skywalker eventually learned the truth of how the Jedi fell, and she wants to show the arrogance of the Jedi in this show. Really showing us, as the prequels did, that the Jedi were not perfect. Their arrogance blinded them, as Palpatine told Yoda. They thought everything was under control. Ki-Adi-Mundi even says the Sith have been extinct for millennia, but that is just not true. And this began long before Episode 1. Leslye is drawing inspiration from The Phantom Menace. She wants her show to feed into it, because it takes place right at the end of the High Republic era, so she wants some consistency with George Lucas canon. And you know what? I think it's going to be a really good thing to put the High Republic on screen. We haven't seen any live-action High Republic content just yet. We had Young Jedi Adventures, which is animated, lots of books and comics, but this is going to be our first venture in live action, so there is a lot of pressure to get this right. But considering she is staying true to George Lucas Star Wars, at least that's what she says, there is good reason to have hope in this, even if it is inspired by The Last Jedi, which, as we know, is a very divisive and controversial movie. But she is staying true to the message that by the time of The Phantom Menace, the fall of the Jedi already begun. They were blinded, and in a sense, that's why it's so important for them to include Darth Plagueis. Hugo de Mask, as he was publicly known, was a huge reason the Sith eventually succeeded, even if Palpatine eventually killed him in his sleep. But share your thoughts on everything we spoke about in the comments down below. What are your thoughts on the Mandalorian deleted scene? What are your thoughts on Skeleton Crew, this Acolyte news, and everything we talked about? If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to give me a big fat thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you in the next one. May the Force be with you always.